The Council fleet declared the colony harmless. Then a human farmer increased the gravity and calmly locked the doors behind them. Admiral Drik'ein of the Galactic Federation's compliance armada studied the glowing green classification hovering above the human colony of New Horizon, Class 1, safe. No orbital cannons. No shield lattice. Population under 300 civilians. The Federation Senate wanted a rapid annexation before human expansion disrupted regional trade taxation routes, and the xakvun economic delegates promised the operation would finish within one cycle. Reed Douglas, listed in the First Contact Registry as an agricultural supervisor, was supposedly the highest-ranking human on the surface. That alone insulted Drik'ein. Entire Council battle groups had crossed 6 systems to intimidate farmers. Then the Council sensors detected something impossible. Every cargo silo on New Horizon possessed deeper energy signatures than the colony reactor itself. Drik'ein ordered scans repeated 3 times, but the readings remained identical. Meanwhile, human civilians continued planting crops in open fields beneath descending invasion craft, as if warships blotting out the sky were a routine weather pattern. The humans were not evacuating. They were preparing something quietly, and the Federation realized too late this was not a defensive posture. The first landing battalions entered the agricultural domes without resistance, and that frightened tactical director Kugrel more than open combat would have. The domes stretched for kilometers beneath transparent alloy ceilings, packed with towering green vegetation imported from Earth's Deathworld ecosystems. Federation infantry immediately reported neurological instability, distorted balance, and breathing discomfort. At first Drik'ein suspected sabotage gas, but the atmospheric analysis produced a humiliating answer. The plants themselves emitted defensive biochemicals naturally harmless to humans yet catastrophically toxic to most Federation species. Human workers in sleeveless shirts calmly walked between rows of crops while elite armored troopers collapsed from environmental overload alarms. Then another system failure spread silently through the fleet. Cooling arrays aboard the orbiting carriers began corroding after intake filters processed microscopic airborne spores lifted from the colony atmosphere. Harrison Bates, monitoring orbital traffic from an ancient weather tower, deliberately redirected farming drones into the fleet's intake currents with perfect timing. The humans were not using military weapons. They were weaponizing ordinary biology, and panic spread through Federation command channels before the first shot was even fired. Drik'ein attempted to regain control through strict Federation doctrine. Secure the perimeter. Establish logistics anchors. Suppress communications. Yet every regulation failed against human unpredictability. Asher Howe led civilian mechanics across the colony using agricultural haulers instead of armored transports, because Federation scanners ignored farming equipment entirely. Then the Council sensors detected something impossible again. Massive heat signatures emerged from livestock pens beyond the settlement ridge. Federation troopers deployed kinetic restraint nets expecting primitive pack animals. The creatures shattered the nets instantly. Humans called them horses. To the Federation, they resembled armored biological battering rams capable of breaking light vehicles apart through momentum alone. One terrified xakvun officer watched a charging animal overturn a supply crawler before calmly returning to its feeding trough. Meanwhile, domesticated Earth dogs tracked infiltrators through ventilation shafts and forced entire squads into retreat without a single firearm discharge. Dahlia Adkins exploited the chaos by rerouting civilian irrigation channels across landing zones, turning the metallic terrain into conductive traps during the colony's artificial storms. The humans weren't reacting to Federation strategy anymore. They were predicting the entire operational grid before orders were issued. The strategic balance collapsed fully when Mallory Mays intercepted encrypted Federation communications using modified grain distribution satellites hidden above the atmosphere. She discovered the terrifying truth behind the annexation. The Galactic Federation never intended peaceful integration. New Horizon sat directly above a rare magnetic mineral network essential for faster-than-light gate production, and Council corporations feared independent human control over interstellar infrastructure economics. Civilization-level supply chains depended on this system. Drik'ein suddenly understood why the Senate demanded immediate occupation despite incomplete intelligence. But by then something inside the fleet began failing silently, sector by sector. Human atmospheric processors released microscopic metallic particles generated through ordinary farming machinery, and those particles interfered with Federation navigation harmonics. Entire destroyer formations drifted from synchronized orbit while docking systems malfunctioned simultaneously. The humans had already compromised orbital control before direct combat even began. Facing growing embarrassment, Drik'ein ordered a decisive assault against the colony command hub beneath New Horizons' central greenhouse complex. Yet even xakvun hesitated before transmitting the command. Every prior human weakness had transformed into a hidden advantage. For the first time in his military career, Drik'ein considered the possibility that his fleet might actually lose to civilians. The assault began under crimson emergency lighting as Federation shock units breached the colony's subterranean command complex beneath the greenhouse foundations. Reed Douglas waited alone inside the control chamber wearing work overalls stained with soil instead of military armor. That unsettled Drik'ein more than any weapon could have. The human calmly poured coffee while hundreds of Federation troops flooded into the structure. Then the doors sealed behind them. Not to keep the humans out. To trap the invaders inside. Reed activated what colony engineers called the Domestic Safety Protocol. Instantly the artificial gravity increased to standard Earth conditions. G=1 Federation exoskeleton joints screamed under the crushing load while atmospheric converters shifted toward Earth normal oxygen and nitrogen ratios. For humans it was comfortable. For the invaders it became unbearable. Soldiers collapsed beneath their own armor weight while respiratory systems overloaded from dense atmospheric pressure. Drik'ein watched tactical icons vanish one after another without a single human firing a shot. Reed Douglas simply leaned toward the monitor and politely requested that the Federation remove its forces from his property before life support conditions became slightly inconvenient. Outside the command complex, Asher Howe and Dahlia Adkins initiated the colony's final contingency by redirecting the settlement fusion grid into the surrounding magnetic planes. The result stunned the orbiting fleet. Planet-wide electromagnetic storms erupted across New Horizon, trapping Federation warships inside destabilized orbital corridors. They had already lost navigational authority before realizing the colony itself had become a planetary-scale snare. xakvun begged Drik'ein to authorize orbital bombardment, but doing so risked detonating the mineral network beneath the planet and collapsing Federation gate production across 3 sectors. Civilization-level commerce now depended entirely on the survival of one harmless human farm. Drik'ein finally issued the unthinkable order, retreat. As battered carriers escaped the atmosphere, Federation databases updated the classification for every known human settlement simultaneously. Safe status was permanently removed from the archives. Reed Douglas watched the fleeing fleet from his greenhouse balcony while automated sprinklers resumed watering crops around him. The galaxy had discovered a terrifying truth. Humans did not build colonies to survive hostile worlds. They transformed hostile worlds into extensions of themselves, and that made every human home a weapon. Today the galaxy learned why humans were never prey. A harmless colony became a battlefield without firing a single cannon, and the Federation fled from farmers carrying coffee mugs instead of rifles. Subscribe to humanity's Vanguard, and witness the next war before the Council understands it has already begun.